Well, well, well. We shall see if this guy is actually traded by the time this video gets uploaded on YouTube. Y'all know the drill. I record these videos the night before they go up in the morning, so if Montreal Canadiens forward Kirby Dach gets traded sometime on the morning of Wednesday, July 29th before this video gets uploaded, then that is my bad. But today, we're talking about two teams that have genuinely been linked to Kirby Dach. First, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets in the Kirill Marchenko trade discussions. And second, we have the Edmonton Oilers, courtesy of an article posted by Gabriel Sammy on MontrealHockeyFanatics.com. In fact, I don't even think that's correct. I think there it is, an article from The Athletic posted by Alan Mitchell, who, of course, does stuff for the Edmonton Oilers beat on the platform, who wrote about Kirby Dach as a potential Oilers target too. Could we see the Habs trade Dach to one of Columbus or Edmonton? Is there some sort of a, dare I use the phrase, bidding war for this guy right here? Now, last time we made a video talking about Kirby Dach on this YouTube channel, we spoke about the idea that his time was up, his time was now, whether or not Kirby Dach is inevitably going to get sent away somewhere else. And a lot of this had to do with the fact that the Montreal Canadiens ended up signing Dach to a one-year, $3.6 million AAV contract, a one-way deal. A contract that was quite different than the $4 million AAV that he was receiving as a qualifying offer, except that would have been a two-way contract. Dach could have had more money had he just had the confidence that he would actually be sticking around in the National Hockey League. The other contract that he was offered had much less money available to him in the event that he gets sent down to Laval. The contract that he actually ended up signing includes a $3.6 million minor's salary. So, from the get-go, with the contract negotiations between Kirby Dach and the Canadiens, the arbitration, not arbitration situation, there was already a level of declining confidence from both parties here. If the Habs thought that Dach was actually going to be a mainstay part of their lineup, why would they offer him a two-way deal? If Kirby Dach was confident enough that he'd be good enough to stay in the NHL, why would he take less money on a one-way deal? You see how both of these things kind of contradict each other? Anyways, Kirby Dach at this point is 25 years old, 6'4", 220, a right-handed center right wing, and he is a guy who posted up 15 points in 37 games last year. He was hurt for a good chunk of the year, and he did score 5 points in 19 playoff games. We should note that the majority of his production came in one series. In fact, you could even say it came in one game. And that Kirby Dach went a number of games, half a month essentially, split between the Sabres and the Hurricanes, where he didn't score any points, period. Dach, unfortunately, is not living up to that Ryan Getzlaf third overall status that he was able to get for himself back in 2019. And it's quite unfortunate here that he has not been able to put it together. I would have loved to have seen Dach become the second-line center answer for the Montreal Canadiens, a guy who could put up 60 points a year, most of them being assists, whilst providing very big ballerina-like qualities on the ice at 6'4", 220. But now, at 25 years old, maybe there's a chance another NHL team goes out there and tries to dig that profile out from Dach. Dobber Prospects went out there and posted this, not Dobber Prospects, Dobber Hockey. They posted this on their Twitter account earlier in the week, talking about how a Kirill Marchenko trade has intensified, as reports indicate a potential blockbuster is nearing the final stages, with Montreal heavily pursuing the winger. Kirby Dach is probably part of the deal. What else? Now, excuse the Google Gemini-made graphic over here. You could really tell when these things are made by the AI, especially when the text is, assembled in this certain way. I've seen restaurants in my town start to use this sort of formatting for their promotions and their flyers and whatnot, and it just feels so artificial and weird. This graphic, you can see it's kind of pixelated as well, so maybe Dauber didn't go out there and actually generate this themselves. Maybe they stole it from elsewhere, but either way, is Kirby Dach an available Columbus Blue Jacket? Who really knows? Could he play behind Adam Fantilli? Could he get swapped over in some sort of a Marchenko or even a Kent Johnson type of move? Guess what? We spoke about the idea of Kent Johnson coming over to the Montreal Canadiens in yesterday's show. That's an idea that makes sense in some people's minds, potentially. But it ain't even just Columbus that is potentially dipping their toes into the Dach sweepstakes. Take a look at this piece posted by Gabriel Sammy on MontrealHockeyFanatics.com. It talks about how Kirby Dach is among two potential Oilers trade targets, and his younger brother Colton could be a factor. This article, which will be linked in the description, goes out there and uses an article from Alan Mitchell of The Athletic to talk about how Kirby's younger brother Dach is already an Edmonton Oiler. The Oilers appear to have high expectations for the younger Dach. That could give the Oilers another reason to explore a trade with the Montreal Canadiens. Reuniting the Dach brothers while giving Kirby a fresh start would be an interesting gamble for Edmonton. Mitchell was clear about the potential fit in his latest piece. Both Dach, whose brother, Colton, plays for the Oilers, and Laba should be players of interest for Edmonton management should they become available. Now, who are they talking about? Laba? Well, they're talking about Noah Laba out of the New York Rangers. Pretty niche player, but hey, he's 22 years old, and he was able to put himself into a pretty reasonable point production territory. 24 points in 74 games. Did he outscore Dach? Oh yeah, he did. Big time. Noah Laba was genuinely better in the National Hockey League than Kirby Dach was. But this actually, if it were to go through, would not be the first time that both Dachs were on the same team. Of course, Kirby was drafted 3rd overall by Chicago. Meanwhile, Colton, he was also drafted by Chicago, albeit 2 years later and in the 2nd round. 62nd overall pick by the Chicago Blackhawks. He had spent some time in the organization with his brother Kirby. If I recall correctly, I think when Colton Dach was drafted, it was during that weird remote COVID draft going on, and he had his older brother Kirby enter the room while he was doing an interview with NHL Network or whatever it was, and Kirby ended up giving his brother a noogie, and it was a cool moment. They were in the same organization for a little bit before Kirby got sent over to Montreal in that Alexander Romanov first-round pick ordeal. Now, Colton is a pretty interesting NHL player. I don't want to say he's like the best, but he had 9 points in 53 Blackhawks games this year and immediately started producing more in the Oilers organization. 4 points in 8 games, 2 goals, 2 assists for Edmonton in the regular season, plus an assist in 5 games versus the Anaheim Ducks. Colton Dach, if he continues producing at a half a point a game pace, which, let's be real, he's probably not going to do that, could put him in some interesting territory to potentially revive his older brother Kirby. They're both 6'4", they're both center wingers. Colton is center left, Kirby is center right. Maybe there is a chance that you could have a K Dach and a C Dach on the same team. They're from Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta, so maybe there's a hometown connection there. I'm not too familiar with my Albertan cities or counties, so somebody might have to correct me on that in the comment section. But either way, do you see Kirby Dach as a potential Columbus Blue Jacket or as a potential Edmonton Oiler? These conversations have been going on the past few days. I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about them? I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on. And bye.